Hi, we're here at PAX East. I'm Tyler Sigman, co-founder and designer at Red Hook Studios, and we're showing Darkest Dungeon, which is an RPG about the psychological stresses of adventuring.
So talk a little about what's unique about this game.
Sure. In this game, we're basically trying to put the humanity back into heroes and heroism. So you need to worry about your hero's mental condition just as much as their physical. Turns out that being an adventurer, it's not that pleasant of a job. You're under constant threat of instant death, fighting horrible creatures, running out of food, adventuring underground. This is actually pretty stressful. So as you adventure, your heroes get fairly stressed out, and that can manifest in different ways. We call it the affliction system. So it's basically things like fear, paranoia, depression, irrationality, abusiveness, masochism, selfishness. This will actually manifest as behaviors in the game, and you need to now manage that from a tactical, sort of like a squad leader or a hockey coach type of perspective, where you're trying to keep your people together, fighting, not only fighting well, but staying in the fight, period.
How can you utilize that from a gameplay perspective?
Sure. So the game is built around a series of quests that you recruit and manage a roster of heroes in town, then send them on quests, and then back to town to deal with the effects of those quests. So when they get afflicted, that manifests in different behaviors. We've got turn-based combat, which you're seeing right now. And so, for example, if a character becomes fearful, they may actually refuse to fight and move to the back. And all the combat is very tactical, rank positioning matters in the combat. And so, for example, if your best fighter gets afraid and moves backwards, now you've got your back rank specialists that are in the front ranks, and all of a sudden you got to manage that. So we're asking you to sort of manage a set of increasingly chaotic circumstances. One of the themes of the game really is that, unlike I guess a lot of RPGs, when it gets bad, you can't reload. It's very unforgiving, almost like a Dark Souls. So we want you to make the most of a tough set of circumstances, because we actually think that's where like true heroism comes from, is those moments where everything's going to shit and then someone rises to the challenge and you know, kills the monster. So we want you to feel that sense of accomplishment by managing them as they get increasingly more chaotic.
Can you talk about the actual world people will be exploring?
Sure. I mean, a little bit. We're definitely inspired by influences like dark, gothic, gritty horrors, Lovecraft, those sorts of things. So if you see, we've got a couple trailers online that set the sort of world and tone of the game, but basically it's kind of a gritty, dark setting where you know, the town has been ruined, it's been overrun by all these horrible monsters, and we're putting you in the role of basically an heir to this corrupted estate, and you've come back to claim it, and you're hiring these heroes to clean it out and seal the gate that all these horrific creatures are coming out of.
Can you walk us through a couple of different heroes?
Sure, yeah. Like today we're demoing 4 different heroes. There's the Crusader, the Plague Doctor, the Vestal, and the Highwayman. And so there's actually going to be about 15 or 16 different classes in the game. And we've got a lot of really non-traditional things, like, yeah, the Plague Doctor is one. There's actually a leper class. He's got this bronzed armor, kind of like almost like from Kingdom of Heaven. And all the different classes have different specialties. So for example, how they fight in combat, the different skills that they have. The Crusader, for example, is a front rank specialist. I mean, he's made to tank and do damage. But the Plague Doctor is a back rank. She lobs plague bombs in. So you'll construct your party tactically and strategically based on putting a different set of 4 characters together to solve whatever dungeon you're going in. And then each one that you recruit has a slightly different flavor, where they might have some personality quirks coming right out of the tavern, and that's another kind of thing in the game. In addition to all the affliction stuff, you've got a lot of quirks, this sort of baggage that builds up over a lifetime of adventuring. So each character will kind of have their own little things that you'll learn that impact how the combat and the exploration and the camping and their town behaviors go.
What are some of the different environments people will be exploring?
Sure. Today we're demoing the ruins, which are basically the manor that your ancestor lived in, had all these catacombs beneath, and that's kind of like a typical dungeon environment. We've also got the Cove, which is more of like almost like a Shadows out of Innsmouth type, inspired with like weird amphibious creatures. There's the Warrens and the Mornweald, which is basically a corrupted forest that has all these different things. So there's lots of variety in terms of monsters that you face, as well as you know, their different abilities. And so over time, a lot of the gameplay is about figuring out what characters can do well in what areas against what monsters, and that's part of the challenge of the game.